So let's talk ComicGate. What is it? Honestly, it's quite interesting. If you immediately thought Gamergate, of course, there are several parallels between the two. Gamergate, of course, being a consumer revolt, essentially against gaming journalists and gaming media for their unbiased and unethical reporting and some of the things that they've done, which of course they spun into this whole thing about gamers wanting women out of games, which couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, even for a normie, I don't think they could look at it and go, why would you want women out of that? I mean, heck, back in the day before geeky was cool, it was hard to find a woman who actually enjoyed some of the things that we geeks do, whether it was video games or comics. So naturally, when one did take interest in it, we were all like, alright, sweet. Because it's hard to find somebody of the opposite gender who enjoyed your hobby. Anyway, so what does that have to do with ComicGate? Pretty much the same thing. ComicGate is a consumer revolt, essentially against comic book pros, professionals, those people who actually make the comic books, not the journalists themselves who report on things or anything. In fact, I'm not even sure if there really is like comic book journalists. I've never looked. But there are comic book pros. They're the ones who create the comics, and specifically we're talking about the SJW style of comics that keep coming out of Marvel. So essentially you've got a consumer revolt against those, which is why they sell so abysmal lately in the past few years, and the only thing really keeping Marvel afloat is probably the cinematic universe, because they haven't really touched that. But anyway, because of that, actual avid comic fans and other things have raised concerns about the poorly written stories, among other things, that are just thrown in your face in the comics that make no sense, shouldn't be there. And instead of, these pros taking any of the criticism and, working with it or, anything, they come back with, you're a bigot, you're a misogynist, this isn't for you, don't buy it. Which is something I just never really understood of that mindset, especially the don't buy it. When your audience criticizes you, when in the history of ever has it made sense to attack your audience, call them Nazis and bigots for not liking something? So far, every time that has happened, you pretty much you lose it. You lose everything. I mean, heck, you can look at Ghostbusters 2016 for a prime example. But, you want to sit there and say it's not for you, don't buy it, then that's fine. You're avid customers for years upon years. Stop buying comics as a result. Or they go to your competitors. They'll go over and buy DC. Or whatever else that actually has good story, good plot. Something worth reading. But, anyway, that is pretty much ComicGate in a nutshell. That's the long and the short of it. So, let's go over a couple of things with it. Can't remember who it was, but I remember reading a long Twitter thing where the guy was going off on people who were criticizing, the comic book pros, who essentially have devolved into like 9th grade schoolyard bullying and tactics. You look at their Twitter feeds and other things, and some of their private posts that apparently got leaked, And when they're like, oh, I see him, I'm gonna go up and I'm just gonna flip the table on him and I'm gonna kick his ass. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna mess with him so much that he's gonna wind up throwing the first punch so then I can claim self-defense and I'm gonna lay him out with one punch. And it's like, really, dudes? Like, seriously? You're professionals in this. Is how you react to being criticized? Really? That is how you're going to react to it? Did you people forget to grow up? Are you still, like, in the 8th grade or something mentally? Is that why you can't come up with a good story for your comics? But yeah, you can't come up with any good stories, of course. And you've got to throw your political agenda in there, like every other page. So let's get into that Twitter thing real quick. I saw it a while back, wanted to talk about it, hadn't talked about it, and the first thing in there, and I'm paraphrasing, dude is like, because he's addressing this issue, the whole, they don't have stories and they're too over-political, politicized and all this other stuff. Well, comics have always been politicized. And I'm paraphrasing. You were just too young and you're still too dumb to understand or to get it and all this other stuff like that. When you want to sit there and start making like 15 points, especially on Twitter, the first thing you probably shouldn't do in the very first point is call people idiots. Because that there is going to be like, okay, so you're calling us idiots? Everything else out of your mouth isn't even worth the glancing over. Thank you, goodbye. That's probably the worst way to start an argument. I mean, just being frank. But let's talk on that for a split second. Yes, comics have had political things inside of them. They've been politicized in the past. There is nothing new. It really isn't. Now, here's the difference. Let's go back and I'll pull out what can I think of? X-Men. X-Men's one of my favorite. I'm a huge X-Men fan. Alright? There are parallels between the X-Men, and this is going to be super simplified, between the X-Men and their world and the Holocaust. You can draw parallels between the two. Where you've got Hitler making his, whatever Aryan race, and he's slaughtering all the Jews in order to make, his master race or whatever, because they're not part of it. There are parallels between X-Men and that, where you've got mutants, alright? You have non-mutants. Naturally, non-mutants are afraid of mutants. Mutants have powers that non-mutants don't. One could argue that mutants, the X gene, is natural evolution of the human state. So these mutants could be the next evolution of man. At the same time, you've got people who are afraid of them and they want them gone. They're going to destroy them. They're going to fight to get rid of them. You get things like the Sentinel program in place, where their purpose is designed to hunt down and eradicate humans. Mutants. Humans. But then you wind up with time travel and other things that get interjected into the story, where you wind up with a dystopian future where the Sentinels have evolved to the point that in order to stop mutants, they have decided that they need to kill off things that can create mutants. Thus, humanity becomes the new target of the Sentinels, and they go through practically, killing off everybody and everything at that point. As well as you have the mutants over here. Not only do you have non-mutants who are trying to, get rid of them because they're afraid of them, you also have non-mutants who want to, have peace with said mutants. At the same time, you have the mutants with two separate main factions as well, where you've got, like Professor X and Magneto, and they want to also sort of coexist with the humans, but at the same time, they want to go about it two separate different ways. where one is more towards control while the other one is more of a peaceful thing. There are parallels between that and actual history, if you read the stories and you pay attention. Best part about all of this, though, if you don't know maybe the history of what happened to Germany, you don't know anything about any of the wars or nothing like that, it's not a constant reminder in that comic book that that's what it's based off of. You could sit there and go through that entire comic book, and it can possibly not hit you until somebody brings it up because, the creator did an interview or something, that there were parallels between that and past events. Why is that? Well, that's because the story was good. There was a good story made in there, and it wasn't constantly throwing the past or current political events into your face every few pages. Wasn't constantly reminding you and bringing you out of that world. Go, by the way, just so you know, Hitler killed millions of people, or thousands, or whatever. Killed a ton of people. You need to be, you need to know that. You need that information. No, you don't. You really do not. A good story gets you lost in it. It's nothing more than reading a novel. Koniga loves reading books. I personally am a comic book manga kind of person. She's more into the novels and that sort of thing, but whatever else. Anyway, but when you find a good one, you get lost into this world. You want to know more. But when you throw other things in there that bring you out of that world and back into your current world, the real world, it does nothing for you at that point. It's like, why are you reading it? And we'll go with the quick and easy, simple one to bring up because it's off the top of my head. Thor and the whole panel with unsolicited opinions of Israel. Man, that's a pretty easy one, right? Everybody knows that one. Everybody's seen it by now. That sort of writing takes you out of the story. We can get over the fact that Jane Foster is, Thor. We can get over that if the story is written well. But when you do things like unsolicited opinions against Israel, or of Israel, while she's punching Odin or whatever, you're just like, what? What does the Gaza Strip have to do with any of this? I mean, it might make more sense if he was offering unsolicited opinions about Asgard or something. Or the Bifrost, I don't know. But to Israel? Why? That makes no sense whatsoever. It's little things like that that pull you out of the comic and you're just like, wait, what am I reading? That is where people are going about bad storytelling. You're bringing in political views into these comic books and you're bashing them over the head with it. Like it matters to them. For instance, you make a new hero. Alright? This new hero is black. It's a woman. She's a lesbian. Okay, cool. She's got powers. She's super strong. Can take a bullet. It bounces off of her. Whatever. She's like, I guess a new... Oh, you know what? That's been done before. Anyway, as if it had never been done before, you've created your new hero. And your new hero, of course, needs an origin story. But then during that origin story, instead of telling a compelling story of how this woman gained super strength and is bulletproof, you also take every other panel or every other page, to reinforce the idea, oh, by the way, not only is she a mutant, or an inhuman, or wherever it is you want to go with it, but she's also black, and she's a lesbian. We're going to tie this into you every few pages because she's going to flashback to her wife. and they're gonna kiss in front of a rainbow flag. Just in case you didn't get that when we first introduced her. You know, we don't need that. Honestly, you know, the fact that she's a lesbian and black and a woman, nobody cares. Really, nobody cares. I mean, seriously, I don't think anybody was running around going, "Oh my gosh, did you know Logan is straight?" When X-Men was released years upon years ago and was running so well and doing really good. I don't think the talk of the town was their sexuality, let alone their skin color. It was, holy shit, Cyclops has a freaking laser out of his eyes. Did you catch that? That is awesome. No, wait, you think that is awesome? What about Logan over here? I mean, Wolverine. He freaking heals and he has claws that come out of him? That is freaking awesome. Oh yeah? What about this one over here? This guy here, in this latest comic right here, his name's Gambit. He makes things explode when he touches them and throws them at people. And he uses a bow staff and kicks ass. You know, that there's what people talk about. Nobody cares what their sexuality is. But the problem is, in order to... Your stories and stuff, they tend to throw that in there way more than it should be, as if it matters. I mean, heck, that whole... And it also feels like your mindset when you write these stories is like in the 1820s or something. I don't know if that was just designed to be a character flaw or what it is, but like, well, who was it? Ray Williams, I think, New Iron Man? In her first book or whatever, or first few books, you know, in the first few panels, the teacher tells her she can be anything she wants to be. You know, she could be the next Tony Stark. Then she chastises her teacher because she's black and a girl. That you can't do that. You can't tell me that. You're supposed to tell me I won't make it. I won't be anything. It's like, really? I mean, I can understand if, I guess, the character is designed to be in the 1920s and then thrusted into the, you know, the 22nd century or 21st century or something. And has that old mindset that they can't amount to anything because they're, you know, different or they're not a man or whatever, but we don't live in that world. And that you also want me to go under and say that this person is supposed to be very intelligent, yet she can't grasp the concept that her gender nor the color of her skin does not hold her back. And that just throws the whole character off. Like, okay, so you're supposed to be smart, but at the same time, you're also dumb as a box of rocks? You don't get the world? Or did you just fall out of a time thing and you're from, like, I don't know, you're an Einstein from the 1820s somewhere, and you just dropped into this world? Yeah, that I might get. But anyway, I think I've rambled about this long enough, talking about this, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Next, I'm going to do another part where we talk about comics and diversity, and how that has played a huge part in all of this. Until then, I'll talk to you later. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.